You see, it's gone
We're
live now. Do you
live.
see that? We're live. You
We
see
are
that?
live.
How are you, James?
Very good. Lovely to be with you today. Is this our third episode, our fourth episode now? I can't actually remember.
I think it might be the fourth. I can't believe we've lost count.
Okay.
We've not, I mean, oh my goodness, it just
We
all
should be
fades. It
getting the
might be
hang.
the third. I don't know.
We
We
should
should
be
be
kind of
getting
getting
better.
the hang of this now. We should kind of know what we're doing with it.
No.
So why don't we get into the show, Maria? Do you want to
Should we
go?
just, we're a bit early. We're a bit premature, are we not?
Oh
Oh, no,
wow!
now.
I'm just so excited. This is my Britishness coming through. It's on the hour, like bang on the hour.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, let's get started. So, welcome back to This Week in Events, where we're talking about all things events, really. News, tech, insights, what's going on in the world of meetings, conferences, and events at the moment, or at least from our point of view, right?
Absolutely.
Sorry, yes, I should say, my name is Maria Franzoni.
And my name is James Taylor. We've got a real fun-packed show for you today. We're going to be talking about three really interesting topics. As you come in here, this is a very interactive show. So please, wherever you're watching this just now, on LinkedIn, Facebook, some platform I've never heard of, please leave any comments, questions, and we'll come to these as well as we go throughout the show. So we're going to be talking about three main things, and then we're going to be having our tool or tools of the week. So we're going to be starting off talking about experiential events and doing experiential activation sessions. And I don't know what some of these words mean. So I'm going to have Maria really take me through some of these things and what they actually mean. Then we're going to look at that. So that's going to be a bit more fun. We're going to go a little bit more kind of serious, talking about contracts, things like force majeure. So when we're doing agreements, either as speakers or speaker bureau, or if you're an event organizer, you're a corporate client, when you're doing those agreements with the speakers, those kind of clauses you should probably be thinking in, especially because of COVID-19 and coronavirus. And then the third part, which I thought end on a little bit of a high, there was a study came out recently from the International Association of Speaker Bureaus on what are the hot topics that are getting booked, speakers are getting booked for in 2020. So we're going to talk about the IASB ones, and then we're going to talk about the London Speaker Bureau ones, because there's a little bit of difference. We'll talk about why that is. So let's get into the first part of the show. Maria, this was something that you were really keen to talk about this week, which was the idea of energizer sessions. So tell me about energizer sessions and why you see them as a bit of a trend at the moment.
Well, actually, it's something that clients are asking for. They're asking for something different, something unique. And I don't know if it's because we're leading up to Christmas and we want something a bit more fun and a bit more lighthearted, or if it's because we're sitting on our chairs all day long on Zoom. And actually, are you sitting? You're sitting, aren't you?
I am sitting. I'm being a bit lazy today because I'm not keynote speaking. Normally, if I'm speaking, I'm standing, but I feel this is more of a sitting type of gig.
Yeah, I like to sit because I like to sit in front of my beautiful window.
That is a great view, and that's amazing because I think you actually have a view of Melbourne, although it's not actually Melbourne. Amazing, the power of technology.
It's wonderful, isn't it? It's just like that. I can be somewhere else. So yeah, so this is what it was: is that the clients are looking for something a bit more fun, a bit different. So here's the challenge, you see, in the real world, in the old world, if you were going to do something maybe for an event that's a Christmas event or a team building event, it's an awful lot easier. So how do you do it virtually? Can you do it virtually?
This is a funny one, really, because I remember that when we first started making the move to doing a lot of virtual, and the common complaint from clients was, as soon as we can, we're going to go back to doing in-person live, because we just don't get that interactive thing that we get when we're meeting with someone, a group of people together. But I think I've gradually been seeing it's changing. I know you represent a couple of clients, a couple of speakers who I've seen do really cool stuff. I think one that springs to mind is Tom Morley.
Yeah, he's quite cool. I don't know if he's listening in. There is a Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know if Tom's with us today. Actually, as people are coming in just now, let us know if you do these kind of experiential. We should explain to us what Tom does first of all, Maria, because I think it's a good way.
Crazy. First, he's a little bit crazy. So Tom is former drummer with Scritti Politti, and he brings the drum experience. So people who are participating can drum on anything, but it becomes like a virtual DJ, getting them drumming, getting them, really moving. And he's like the Joe Wicks of the drumming world, I think. That's how I'm going to describe him. So, but just great fun, great energy. And then he produces the most amazing videos summarizing those experiences. So you then have a wonderful memory as well. But the techniques he uses on screen to show lots of different people, it's like a party. It's phenomenal.
They look amazing. And it's what is nice is I'm seeing some of those companies. I did an event in Dubai just at the very start of the year, and it was a full day event. And just after the coffees, they had a company come in to do an activation session. And I actually just sat and I was chatting to the person that was running it, and it was running for about 20 minutes before I came in to do my speech. And it was great because it was just getting standing up, doing physical things. There was a kind of team working aspect to it. There was a lot of humor in it as well. And it's nice to see some of those companies now moving to virtual and thinking about how can we create that type of experience virtually.
Yeah, but also you were saying to me this week that you had an experience where the technology was incredible, where you actually really felt like you were at the event.
It was amazing. I want to give a big shout out here. This was to the, I won't say who the client was, but the events company that put it together was a company called Marcom Arabia. Great team there. And I felt like I was in the middle of a game, like a 3D game. So I filmed all of my things. And when people go into the area of the conference, it feels like you're entering this game, this virtual world. And then you can go into see the keynote stages, and there's a 360-degree thing kind of going on in there. There's all the booths that are there, and the booths look amazing, and they're interactive and live, instantaneous interaction that's kind of going on there. There was a really nice networking area. I thought they did a very good job on that as well. So it's fascinating just now seeing this hybrid mix of experiential side, live events, and the gaming world kind of coming together and doing kind of cool stuff. So I'm actually pretty excited about it just now. I don't know if we have anyone else just now. Who do we have here? This is Dominic here. I've been working with a client looking at wine tasting, whiskey tasting, beer tasting, bread or pastry making, and fudge making. End client has yet to decide which they would like. I want to come to that gig.
Yeah, I want to do that one, especially if it ends up being wine tasting. How wonderful. I'm actually going to a party this evening, and I have to bring my own wine because it's virtual.
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is you're going to have a quarantini, as they say.
Yeah, quarantine. It's funny actually because I did ask the question: is it bring a bottle? Obviously, you bring your own. So Mark is saying, is speaking just another form of entertainment? Well, it can be, I suppose, because of course anybody delivering comedy or great entertaining stories, it can be. I do like this idea of having some kind of activity involved. And actually, London Speaker Bureau is looking at, because we have our annual conference in December, we call it Speak Fest, it's our festival. And we're looking at some software where you can have a dinner and you are seated at a table and you can have discussions and interact at that table. And if you want to then move table, you have to literally sort of get up virtually and move. And if your camera's not on, you can't participate in the discussion.
Oh. So everyone definitely has to get dressed up for that. It's
yes.
And actually this is something I was having a discussion at the weekend with some friends, and they said one of the things that they used to like by going to live events was if it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday conference, on the Saturday there would always be a fancy awards or a dress. Everyone can get dressed up, and so you're starting to see a lot of clients do that as well for their awards. So actually people have to kind of get dressed up. So Mark's question, I saw he was just asking there about the entertainment value. I've always thought there's the Raytheon thing, the founder of the BBC, which is your job is to educate, inform, and entertain. And it's kind of getting that balance together. And sometimes I find if I go and speak in some countries like the Philippines, entertainment value is much, much higher that you have to push. But if I'm speaking in other territories, I'm going to be very generalist about this. But if I'm speaking in Germany, it's slightly less on the entertainment side and a little bit more on the facts and really having very strong content as well. So it's not an either or. I see that a little bit of a blend. So so it's fun stuff. So let us know, anyone here that's been seen really cool things, or speakers are doing really cool things experientially. Dominic mentioned a good one there with the wine tasting and the bread making. That's a good one.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that I heard,
Yeah.
which I thought was really clever. So, mentalist Graham Jolly is reading minds across the ether. It sounds like a séance to me, but of course the person at the other end is alive, which is good. But I thought, well, how fun! What fun! Because mind reader and mentalist doing it virtually, that can't be easy.
The virtual mentalist. I'm sure there's someone has already bought the .com just now for that as
Oh
well.
no!
So, the second thing we wanted to talk about today is contracts, because I certainly found that when all the stuff started happening, we started hearing this word this phrase force majeure get bounded about a lot. I think I heard you talk about it on maybe one of your podcast episodes, Maria, that clients were saying this, we can't do this date, we're going to have to rescheduling it, or calling to use what we call force majeure. What are you noticing when you're working with your clients, Maria, in terms of what they've had to do with the contracts, maybe special clauses you've had to start adding into contracts?
Well, actually, we've had to add the force majeure clause in because we never had it before, and the Americans always did. And I think the Americans probably started putting it in after 9/11, I think is when it started, and we never did. And if it's not in the contract in the UK, it's not recognised. But of course, there is the issue that if you can't get to the event, if the speaker can't get to the event and an audience can't get to the event, you've got to reschedule it anyway. So yes, so we've had to start including that and looking at it and making it part of the contract. And it's, I think, if a government's saying you can't go ahead, if a government says you can't meet, it's force majeure. It's, it's beyond your control.
But what I'm interested in, as we start to see a lot of places unlock, different countries are unlocking at different times. So China is obviously unlocked first because they had the virus came to them first. And then we're seeing like Singapore gradually start to unlock now, and it's hopefully going to start moving across to other countries. But there will be these sudden lockdowns that there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing the client can do about it. So let's imagine, like today I had one of our Speakers U members was asking, he's been asked to do an event in March of next year. And the client is asking about putting some kind of clause if either he can't get to the event because of COVID related things, or the event can't happen physically in that place, that they have some kind of fallback to doing virtual. And then if that happens, should it be at the same fee rate as doing it live in person where the speaker has to travel? Well, what do you tend to advise your speakers?
Well, my view on virtual rates. I think a virtual rate should be the same as your local rate. So if that speaker is being booked to travel abroad, the rate normally would be higher. And if now suddenly it's a switch to virtual, then I think it should be the local rate. So it will be slightly lower, unless, of course, it's in the same country. So that would be my view. But I think it is really wise to have a fallback position, certainly for next March, because I think this is going to go on longer. And I know you're saying about sort of unlocking. We heard from our offices in Asia that they're looking at a third wave.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a city in China this week that they found 8 cases, I believe, and they managed to test the whole city of 9 million people in 5 days. Wow. So they really threw a lot at it to try and kind of deal. But yeah, it's with us for a while, so things are going to be a little bit choppy. I guess as well, it's interesting because it used to be pretty hard and fast, like when an event was happening or not. So for example, like if something was happening in that particular country, you couldn't go there. But now something can, like the whole country can get closed down. You can't do the event in that country. But if it's a global client where they have people flying in from different places, the event can still happen. So you're just, those other parts of this contract, I guess, have to start kicking in.
Well, normally the location does form part of the contract because it does make a difference where it is. You can't just change it. It is a part. The date and the location is part of the contract. So if that changes, that does change the contract somewhat. But moving to virtual, I think I would always have that in my clause up until probably the end of next year, because I think it's going to be totally disrupted for quite some time. I have to read out this because I saw you smirk when you looked at the comment.
That was exactly what
I know. I saw you. There's a comment from Gary about the previous comment about the mentalism, and she said, "What happens if your mind is on mute and then you have a virtual mentalist?" Yes, that's a good one. I quite like that one. Yeah.
Good question here from Mark, which is actually a very common question. I remember speaking, I think it was to Kate Lossius from London Speaker Bureau, about this before. How do you handle the internet going down on either end in a virtual event? Is that force majeure?
No, that's
So yeah,
probably your broadband provider.
that's probably but it's actually it's a really good point. I've had some clients that we've put certain things in. In my case, if it's a keynote, I'll usually pre-record my whole keynote anyway and send it to the client in advance in case there's any problems from my side. In my case, I have 3 different internet connections here, so I'm like backed up, but it might not be my fault necessarily that it goes down. As you're saying, it could be that the client has a problem with their technology and nothing to do with us. We're ready, we're all set to kind of go, but for whatever reason they have some kind of problems. What do you tend to find, Maria, do you have a clause in your contracts around internet speed or a minimum internet speed that you request?
Do you know, we don't, and I'm wondering if we should. I don't know. I think it's all part. We do have a section about the technical requirements, so we do cover that. I do think if that actually happened and there wasn't a backup, everybody would be reasonable about it and find a way of making it happen, because we're all in the business of trying to make things happen. We're not trying to stop people, from. So I'm sure we'd all be kind about it. But we've had this discussion before about you having 3 backups and doing the recording, because I tease you about being belt and braces, and yet you don't wear braces. I'm going to have to get you some braces.
I need those. I need those.
Yeah, just in case, because when you're standing up, losing weight, etc. Should we talk about our sponsor, do you think?
We should, because they've been lovely to us. They've been really kind. And we'd like to take a moment just now to thank our very kind sponsors, who are London Speaker Bureau. London Speaker Bureau is a global resource for corporations and governments for keynote speakers, for executive learning, masterclasses, and boardroom advisors. Representing some of the most influential business leaders and politicians in the world, they were named as the only global speaker bureau by International New York Times. You can find help in choosing a speaker for your next event by going to londonspeakerbureau.com. So thank you, London Speaker Bureau, once again for coming on board. Should we get to our final topic of the day?
Yes, I think it's probably the most exciting. We've left the best till last. Trending topics. Yes. So what have you discovered?
So I know, because we noticed different things at different times. I noticed that IASB, which is the International Association of Speaker Bureaus, that I know you're part of as well. I noticed that they put out a survey that they did to find out what are the top themes or topics, the hot topics that clients are booking speakers for just now. So I feel like we should have like a countdown timer, but we don't have anything. So
well, if you told me, I'd have done it, because you know me, I love my gadgets.
we would have done the top of the pops countdown.
Yeah.
So some of these are almost like perennials. They come back time and time again. They're always pretty much going to go in there. So leadership, and that's especially the case. IASB is very tilted towards a lot of American bureaus, and leadership is always a really common one amongst the US bureaus. So no surprise there. Motivation, which I'm guessing is general motivation. They just want someone to come in and make their people feel better and motivate them, which is what that is. Innovation and creativity, which I'm super excited about, because that's the kind of topic that I speak a lot about as well. Which is, then this is kind of related to this. So innovation and creativity, but there's a separate section which is trends and disruption, which I guess it used to be kind of called change. It used to get put in that bucket, but trends and disruption, artificial intelligence, all that good stuff. Customer experience, I think this is one that's been growing and is going to continue to grow. CX, diversity, definitely, especially in this year as 2020, and performance improvement, which is not one I think about too much. I was kind of surprised that there were some ones that were not on here, but Maria, what's your take? Because I know London Speaker Bureau, you kind of saw what the hot topics are that you're requesting just now.
Yeah, well, actually, it's good timing, because we were talking about this yesterday. We had a European, obviously, virtual meeting, and we came together, and the CEO was sharing the trending themes, and he was saying that they are cybersecurity, innovation. Happy again, right? You're happy again.
Yep.
Future and strategy, and they're really very much the thought leadership topics. But that probably reflects the sort of positioning and the type of speakers that London Speaker Bureau tends to work with, as you shared in the sponsorship announcement there. So those are the four, but all of the topics that you've also listed from IASB definitely are in there. Very much the business stuff.
The one I was a little bit surprised at that hasn't become a thing was around culture and teamwork. Because everyone's remote working, and I've had a number of requests recently that want to bring me in to do something really focused around how can we get our people to collaborate, to build, because we have new people coming into the organization, maybe new associates at big legal firms, and they feel quite separate from the rest of the organization. And we want to kind of find ways to kind of bring them together, kind of talking about those energizer or activation sessions you were speaking about earlier. So I was actually surprised that teamwork and culture that didn't really feature on any of those lists.
That really sort of would probably like be a subheading of leadership, leading teams, leading culture, leading change, and that kind of stuff. So it does definitely come up. So it might not have been in those major ones, but it is for sure really important, the whole engagement topic.
And then you mentioned like those four things for London Speaker Bureau: cyber, innovation, future, and strategy. I guess because London Speaker Bureau, you really tend to focus not really so much on the what we call the kind of celebrity speakers that you might see, but you tend to focus on a lot of those real subject matter experts, economists, former leaders of countries. That tends to be your sweet spot.
Yeah, it does, and it always has been really from the beginning. So it's and actually that area hasn't really been affected as badly with going virtual, because those topics are still so relevant for business and for business continuity, which is good news.
Yeah. So I'd love to know from anyone that's attending here just now, watching this at the moment, what are some of those topics that you see or that you're hearing about that you're getting more interest from, even as maybe not necessarily the topic that you traditionally speak on, but a lot of clients coming to you and saying, hey, you've spoken at our event before, would you be able to come back and maybe tilt your speech slightly this time to this particular topic? So what are you finding? And out of all those things there that we mentioned, like leadership, motivation, trends, disruption, innovation and creativity, customer experience, diversity, performance improvement, cyber, futurism, and strategy, which of those ones do you think is going to have a really good year in 2021? Because there's a lot of conferences getting booked just now. We spoke about this last week, that was it 58% of conferences are only just they're happening in November are only just booking their speakers now, which
I mean, yeah. So I probably wouldn't call it conferences, but meetings and things, because then I don't know. Are they called conferences anymore? They're more sort of like we're calling them web seminars on many occasions, because they're not really webinars. But I'll tell you what, on a different topic, a topic that hasn't come up, but it's certainly about well-being, I suppose, which is a topic. I had a lovely chat this morning with the author of this book. This is can you see it on my camera? Or is it too much light?
I can, yes.
Can you?
Yeah,
so that's Owen James, 10 Times Happier. And I had such a good chat with him about how to be 10 times happier. If you're feeling a bit down, there's some wonderful tips in this that would really help. So I felt really happy when I came off that call. That was really useful.
But that's great, because I noticed that in the United Arab Emirates, when every year has a different theme, the government kind of propose a different theme every year. I think last year was tolerance. Can't remember what this year's theme was, but also every month has its own theme. I remember the last time I was speaking there, which was February, it was innovation was a theme for that month, but the month after was the month of well-being. And so all my friends that speak on well-being, like Julia Lewis, who's a speaker over in Abu Dhabi, she was doing a lot of bookings, because they go, and that's the way they do it. So something to think about. Look at some of those countries that really are very strategic in terms of topics that they focus on, and try and get in there. So we're coming up towards the end here.
Maybe we should come to a nice comment here. So now, is that Chiara? My clients are looking for more motivation and positivity. Absolutely. Yeah. Certainly positivity, sure. Yeah. And handling uncertainty.
One client from a tech company said to me the other day, we were doing the pre-event call or the discovery call, and they said our audience is COVIDed out. Which is their expression. We just want to, we know everyone knows it's all happening. We need to think, going into 2021 now, and thinking about our strategy and what our objectives are. So yeah, I think we're going to maybe hopefully start seeing a little bit more positivity starts happening, which the world needs a little bit more of that at the moment.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Let's get into our tools of the week. You want to go? Did you want to go first, Maria? Do you have a particular?
I've got a wonderful new tool. Now I'm going to have to disconnect here, so I won't hear you when you respond in excitement.
Okay. Well,
I've got a folding window. Let me show you.
Oh.
I've got a folding window. Look.
So I've always been very impressed. Look at this. This is great. How cool is that? How cool is that?
How cool is that? Don't answer me yet because I can't hear you.
I love it.
How cool is that? I fold it. I can take it wherever I want to go, and I can take my beautiful backdrop wherever I am. How cool is that?
That's great. And obviously it's a green screen, so you can put anything kind of behind you there as well. It's quite wide, so you can, in terms of distance, you're not going to get the bleed.
Spread out. I can spread out. Yeah.
We're going to have, if people go to thisweekinevents.com, we'll have a link to this as well. But just quickly, just tell me, can you remember who
it's Elgato. Yeah, it's really good. So I've got it on my ceiling, which is really cool. And so I can pull it down, because before I used to have one that I would pull up and I'd be tripping up on it all over the place. But it means I can go further back. And when we first started filming this, if you recall, I was right up here like this in the screen because I had a very small green screen. And now I can go right back as long as my wire. I'll have to sort out my longer wire. And so
what's nice about that green screen as well is it's very it's got, I know the material, I did a bit of reading up on the material it's made from. It doesn't crease. True. Because a lot of the problems we have in green screen, when it can look a bit naff and a bit rubbish, is because you're using a bit of cloth and you're trying to stretch a bit of cloth, and it just never works. The lighting just doesn't hit it right, and you don't get that really clean, crisp look that you're trying to achieve as well. So very cool. Elgato.
Yeah, well, I've now ruined the illusion that that actually I have this backdrop. But anyway, never mind. I don't think anybody believed it. What's your tool of the week? Is it an app? Is it a gadget? Or is it a person who's a tool?
I'm going to show you. You're going to have to guess what it is. What do you think?
Oh, well, I mean, come on. You're asking an Italian. Of course I know what that is. Of course I know what that is. I mean, come on. Hey.
So we
guessed. Anybody else guessed what that is? Of course.
Fantastic pizza oven. And my friend Douglas Gillespie, who's an event organizer in Scotland, he's a pizza fanatic of like proper Neapolitan pizza. And I asked him, I said, we want to get a pizza oven because we're going to be locked down for the next so many months, and we want to enjoy this time that we're going to have together outside. So what's the best one? And this was the one that was recommended to him because a number of the world's top Neapolitan pizza makers were involved in the design manufacture of this. And bizarrely, it's actually designed in Scotland.
You're
not
kidding.
Far where I am. Yeah.
You're kidding.
This bizarre thing. It's Uni. We'll put a link if people go to thisweekinevents.com. Really cool. And the other reason I wanted to get one of these, this is a 16-inch one. You can do 16-inch pizzas. But the reason I wanted to get one is every 3 months or so, we do a virtual pizza party with my team. So most of my team are in the Philippines and Asia, other parts of the world. And what I do every 3 months is I send them money. We buy pizzas for all the members of the team. We come onto Zoom and we have a little virtual pizza party where we don't talk business. We just talk family and things that are kind of going on, pop culture, what people are watching, Netflix, that kind of stuff. But I thought, okay, I need to up my pizza game here. So this was the idea. This is the Uni pizza oven. So
it looks expensive to me, James. Is it expensive?
Yes, it's a little bit expensive.
It's a little bit expensive. Yeah. My green screen's a bargain by comparison. I could put a pizza on there behind. In fact, you have put a pizza on there. Are you sending pizza ovens to all your staff as Christmas presents, or are you just sending them the money to buy the pizza?
Well, actually, I used to be that we'd send them money and then they would go to the Domino's Pizza or their local pizza place, but no one can get anything at the moment. So everyone's having to make pizza from home. This is the way we are just now.
And listen, Neapolitan pizza, very thin base, thin base, and not too much on the cheese, because there's always too much cheese in the UK on the pizzas.
There's an art.
Yeah, there's an art. Well, you're an Italian fan, so fantastic. Brilliant. Well, that was fun.
Well, that was thank you everyone for coming and joining us today for our fourth, we think, episode.
It is the fourth. It is the fourth. Yeah.
Thanks to our sponsors, the London Speaker Bureau, for helping support us do this today. Thank you for coming and joining us. If you want to see all the links that we've been talking about in today's show and previous episodes, just go to thisweekinevents.com. My name's James Taylor, keynote speaker and founder of Speakers U.
And I'm Maria Franzoni, International Speaker Bureau owner. Lovely to see you. And if you actually want to suggest any topics for us, do feel free to do so. Shall I play us out with our theme tune that we didn't play at the beginning?
Play music.